All right, part 2 of Cesar. We're not going to talk about the Butcher Box game plan for Saturday, and we can't share that here on camera. I will not share that. No, we didn't go into all the details, but he's going to be a little in Colorado, one of the USA crits. Yeah, it's one of those races in the series, right?
Yeah.
It's in the series. Long-standing. It's a twilight or really night crit. It's 10 p.m. So you're gonna have to deal with twilight in the sense that there's lights shining on the course.
Yeah.
Super fast too, right? At elevation, you're saying that makes it faster, but also makes it hard to breathe, or it feels like it's hard to breathe. And that's tough. Is that your first USA crits race this year, or what have you done so far this year? What's the calendar been like?
So I've done Armed Forces, Pro Crit Nationals, and then Dairylands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Armed Forces, BC, technically speaking, Arlington, Virginia, whatever. So that's a big race, and that was super hot and very competitive this year, maybe more so than usual, because it was really kind of one of the first races on the calendar, and everybody kind of showed up and showed up to race. The fields were huge, the courses were hard, and it was super hot. And then we talked a little bit about Pro Nationals and kind of the controversy there in terms of the finish, but we want to highlight, I think, here that this is, okay, I always have to joke about this a little bit. This is Pro Nationals, but I think 90% of the people show up are, 90% of people lie, but 2/3 are amateurs, like for sure.
Yeah.
Like 2/3 are not making primarily their money with cycling, right?
100%, yeah.
And that's okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I think it just needs to be pointed out. But that doesn't mean it isn't fucking fast. Like it is, and the course was hard. The course was technical and uphill. It's tight in turns, and in the end, no team managed to control it. And you made it. You did get pulled, which again, I think 130 guys or more, or 50 guys got pulled or so. You rolled in at the end, but you kind of pulled the plug when it got a little too crazy there, and it wasn't worth risking an injury. But how was that? That was your first national championship?
Yeah.
Or have you done amateur nationals before or anything like that?
So no, that was my first national championship experience.
And I feel like that's another, that's one more step up, maybe not in terms of the speed, probably also, but USA Crits is pretty similar. But I think I've only done collegiate nationals, but there is something cool to it when it says national championships on there, and you have the banner and you have the setup. And
dude,
it feels a little bit, I don't know for you, because again, you've done the USA Crit stuff, so maybe, you have the lead card and all that feels a little bit more normal, but it feels a step up probably still. I don't know, how was it for you?
It's definitely a step up, because you have guys that they're actually, getting paid to ride their bikes, right? There's about 30 guys there that might be getting paid to ride their bikes, or they ride for a UCI pro team.
And when we say that, we mean this is they have a contract and they have a job. I mean, that is their job.
That is their job,
their primary, if not only, source of income, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of, if you want to be super strict definition of pro, and I think that's all transforming and blah, blah, blah. But they don't have a side job or another job that comes first, right? And that's kind of what we're talking about.
Yeah. So, you're lining up with the best guys in the country for the jersey. That means a lot to a lot of people, right? You got guys that are willing to get that jersey so they can sign a contract, right? Buy for a contract.
Yeah. Because you're going to get a contract if you have that jersey. Just put it out there and face it, right? I mean, some team wants to have that jersey on there, right?
I think there's still a lot more praise around the road race one than the crit one, but I feel like there's crits are going to be a big thing, I think, in the next couple of years. I'm hoping.
I think we have the whole hashtag crit be big for a reason, right? I think everybody interested in it is also interested in talking it up, right?
Yeah.
And I think, and it is growing currently. I think it feels like there's conversation around it. Anyway, so
if you have that jersey, it's a big deal.
Yeah, thank you.
If you have that jersey, it's a pretty big deal, I think.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you say that you aren't nervous lining up in that race, it's a lie. So you can line up in that race, and you can see the tension in the air. You can see everybody's ready to go, and some guys are shaking their legs and ready to go. So it was an experience. I think it was one of the fastest and most physical races I've done.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Well,
when,
physicality of it is, I think, really hard to understand if you haven't been in it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
Once again, like, I think
Thank you, guys.
things that would get you yelled at by 80 people in Prospect Park, like, are just like every lap occurrences there, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. And it's like it's not necessarily like in offense. It's half the time it's defensively,
Mhm.
right? Half the time it's like you trying not to die because somebody
Yeah.
is coming around you or,
Right.
or moving up you. So it's never like I'm gonna hit you intentionally.
Right.
It's just straight up like I'm leaning on you to not die and kill
No, it's
you.
good riding.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
good practice.
Yeah, it's good riding. But yeah, at one point I thought I was trying out for an NFL team, just from how much shoulder to
Yeah, so
shoulder
it's not
contact.
just a shoulder lean, it's an active bump. And,
Yeah. I was up there with Connor with like 10 to go, and then 4 to go. I kind of like pulled the plug and just rolled in because it got a little
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah. There's pretty good. There's not a lot of footage, but there's one GoPro footage I'm aware of. I'm trying to remember the rider. I'll give
I
credit,
haven't
but
seen that.
it's a gnarly one. He makes a ridiculous like inside maneuver for like, and he's riding for like 20 of them.
Oh, this is Brandon Rim.
Yeah, that's right.
yeah.
And he takes a line where I think he gains 10 spots on
Yeah.
like the third to last turn or something, but it's a line where he's just full risk, doesn't hit the brakes,
Yeah.
and there's just enough, yeah, anyway, so you get an idea of what it's like.
Yeah.
And this is, again, he's riding at this point for 20 of them.
Yeah. No, that's insane. It's rough. But yeah, that was a good experience. Like that's the closest thing to feeling like a pro.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Racing
yeah.
against all those guys.
Yeah, I think, we always talk about that. I mean, with your,
Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Yep,
Thank you, guys.
You've gotten to that level fairly quickly now, right? Like not at the age of 18 or something like that, but a little bit later in life, we learn a lot of these skills later in life.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty cool to be able to say I've done the professional championships
Yeah.
here now, and you've competed, and you were there, and you got a result. I think, and even if it's only on paper, whatever, 70th or whatever.
Yeah.
No. People need to, I think, respect that too, right? And I think it's very different from, and it always a question of how it came about too, right? But on that note, what's your race? What are some of the favorite race moments? Is that like your biggest accomplishment so far? Do you feel like there's another result or win or just a good race that you had that is like, this is my favorite memory so far, or that makes me proud?
I think that's one of the best races I've done. I think one of the best moments has been was Boise in 2019, where I think 4 or 5 to go, we were lined up next to Legion, and Legion was here, and we were on this side, and I was sweeping the back of the sprinter. And there's a camera view of like the 2 trains, and I remember watching that after, and I was like, wow, we were in that, like we were fighting for the win. But then in the race, it was just like, it was all clicking, right? It was all just like, it felt all natural. We were all doing the thing, fighting for it, boom, boom, boom. I think I ended up like 17 or 16.
As a sweeper.
As a sweeper,
Do you want to explain real quick, sweeper, what you were doing basically?
So I was sitting behind the sprinter, protecting the wheel or making it easy for him so people are not hitting him or trying to take his line. I think it's harder than being a sprinter because you have to pick what side you want to sit on when you're going into the turn. That way somebody doesn't come under you and take you off the wheel, take him off the wheel.
And
Right?
you have to probably be more physical than a sprinter too.
So
at least until like a lap to go or something.
That was one of the best races and moments ever. I was sitting right on Sam's wheel. We got there. Unfortunately, I wasn't physical enough, and I got bumped off the wheel a couple times. But like that allowed me to learn that, like assert your dominance, be there, like just do the thing. That was one of the best moments. And then Iron Hill, when we won the title.
Westchester.
When we won the
That's a
title
value one too,
in 2019, that was pretty good. That was like everything clicked for everyone. I had a rough race, but I did the job I was told to do, I think, early on. And then being on the podium with those guys after like a long year of just like uphill battles. There's a lot of times where where like I doubted it, and then there's a lot of times where it was like really good. So like finally like see that podium and like see what we all achieved was a really good time.
Yeah.
You know, and then you have those moments that was like a moment where it's like, all right, it was worth it. Right?
Yeah.
Like it was worth all the hard work and all that.
Totally. So, we're not at the end of the conversation, but we kind of have this natural like trajectory going in the conversation here. Like, what's next? Like, you've done some pro nationals. You've done. What are some of those bucket list things now for you, or what's the next step? Or you've gotten some good results here, but on your own, you know, you always have to fight a little bit for what's left. You don't have great teammates here. So is it local goals? Do you have more like the USA Crit goals? Do you have goals within the team? Like, what's your next step, or where are you going to go from here? And then we'll talk a little bit more about some of your other endeavors too. But
right now,
what's left this season, you can start with that and then go from there.
I think we're going to go into Littleton and see what we can make happen.
Right.
At the moment, I'm just wherever the team wants me to go, I'm going to go ride as hard as possible.
Yep.
I dove my feet a little bit into the track stuff, where I went to track nationals.
Yep.
And I did a UCI race last week.
A T-Tone?
Yeah, T-Tone, yeah.
It was Tracks of Town, Pennsylvania. Yeah.
I really like that stuff. I feel like I'm a complete noob at it, even though I started at the track.
Yeah.
Just that level is really new to me, and I want to dive a little bit more into that.
Well, it's not like you focus on it, right, at all.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so like I went to track nationals, super ignorant, like, oh yeah, this road fitness.
Were they at T-Town this year?
Yeah, it was at
Okay,
T-Town.
yeah.
I was like, oh, all my road fitness is gonna translate over, and I'm just gonna ride hard, and it's gonna be fine. And like, when you're in the field and you're looking for that extra gear, and you're stuck in that one gear, and you're spinning at 120.
Yeah.
And you need to go faster because everybody's going so much faster. You don't know what you're doing. So, you know, that made me feel like there's a lot to learn again. And it felt like I found some motivation to like push myself even more
at that level.
Right? So like I want to like maybe dive.
Did you have a good time last night?
We did, yeah.
It's a big group.
Awesome.
Looked like a wedding.
Seriously, yeah, with the white tablecloth too. Yeah.
So I want to do a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
Right. I want to
explore the track a little bit
yeah.
more. Yeah.
At that level, right?
Right. You can do locally and then nothing
the
wrong with
locally,
that,
yeah.
but you want the challenge.
I want to do that UCI stuff, right? You go there and you're racing against guys from Barbados, guys from Canada, guys from Trinidad. Like you're racing like.
There's that T-Tone, right?
Yeah,
it's fairly
T-Tone,
regular, like top level events. For some of the best you're gonna get in North America.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And I just felt like I didn't know anything, and that like really got me excited to like, all right, I need to figure this out. Right? I need to do something good with this. So I want to like. Once I get back from Littleton, I'm gonna go back and do a UCI, the last UCI race that they have.
Okay.
Yeah. And we have a good amount of crit racing left. A lot of basic crit stuff.
Yeah.
I want to try to get out to Speed Week and do that. That's like at
they're
doing that
late this year. Okay.
Yeah.
So it used to be early in the year, right? So,
it was a March thing. This year it's an August thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, it's gonna be hot.
Yeah. It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to do that with the team and see what we can do. That's mostly it. Like I said, I want to figure out how to do bigger track stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Like there isn't that much in the US, but you know, a flight away from, you know, going somewhere and doing some big stuff.
On the USA Crit Zone, the teams are restricted to like 6 or something like that, is that right?
Yeah,
or
6.
So you're fighting to get in the squad every time, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, again, you guys are competitive, and it's not easy, right?
Like I said, all 8, 9 guys are really good.
Right.
And like it comes down to like who's better that week, or like who's the best that week, or who's rolling good, and then you get a good call, and you get.
That's what I'm talking about. It is a compliment to be on the team already, right? And to make the selection. Versus again, locally, you can ride if you're on the team. You can ride. You know, you pay your dues. Locally, what's your favorite course here? To race, obviously.
Yeah, I would Prospect.
Yeah.
I love that.
You like the finish? Yeah.
I haven't figured out the finish.
Yeah.
I think doing it 20 times, I still haven't figured out that finish. Right? I figured out Central Park finishes, like those I have dialed.
Yeah.
Prospect, I can't figure out that finish for the life of me. It's either
it's
too
always
early
a little
or too late.
Yeah, and that's the thing that you never know how it's going to play out that day. Sometimes you have to be on the top 5 wheels to win it, and sometimes you have to be further back because of the way the lead out isn't happening.
Yeah.
I think that's amateur racing too, where like it's less controlled, and that's I think what makes it like a bit of a shit show on the last.
And like those 10 guys are good, and they can pedal really hard, right?
Right, and that's what we always say. Like, so we're talking about we don't have that like national level pipeline here, but we have a lot of, and this year I think especially like a lot of the strong guys from the Dominican Republic, other places. Clever Martinez done some races here, really performed really well on the national level. Seen to third at Tulsa at Private Hill, and we have guys like Stalin, and we have other guys who are always, like you said, those are the guys who are going to get top 10 or top 15 for sure, unless they have a mechanical or something. So how does that level compare? Like, but I think we can probably say there's like 10, 20 guys here that could ride the USA Crits and do okay, or like hold their own. Yeah. Like I'm not saying like get top 10 necessarily, but they would finish and they could do their job, right? But I think that's after that it drops off like often fairly quickly. Is that fair to say? Like in terms of like the level?
I think so. Yeah. I think like I said, there's that lack of development, but then there's also that I want to say that a lot of the guys that are really good here don't travel to bike races. Right. Because again, it's convenient, right? It's convenient. Yeah.
Doesn't cost you money or not that much. You can ride to the races.
Exactly. So like a lot of the guys are just used to the park races and whatever, but I think if there was development or if there was more interest of like guys showing up and like learning how to race a bike the right way, like races, it'd be insanely hard out here. Just because of how good everybody is.
And it's different too, like when you don't know everybody, right? Like again, like I think you race differently when you get challenged by other guys. And, 100 guys can pedal. And again, I think park racing, USA, New York City racing is great in a lot of ways. But I think if you want to keep developing, I think you're right. Maybe look outside.
You have to get out of the city.
Different courses, different competitions.
Different people, different like going in intelligentsia, like that opened up my mind. Yeah. Right? First year I went to Intelligentsia, I was put into a curve by a kid that wanted to win a $50 premium.
Yeah.
Kid's from Colombia, and if he didn't get that $50 premium, he wasn't gonna eat that night, right? So like you start seeing that stuff, or like you go somewhere south and the kid's getting developed by some crazy junior team, and he's able to ride you off his wheel. Right. Like you start seeing all this stuff, and you start seeing that you need to do other things to beat these kids, or you need to race a different way to survive. Right. But yeah, like Intelligentsia and Dairyland's like opened my eyes to like all these other bike racers and bike races. That was just like, oh damn, like it's way different outside of it.
Sure. Yeah. You brought up Colombia again, kind of accidentally. You mentioned you spent some time there. Is that still kind of an influence now, or are you looking at Bernal and all those guys and you're like, oh, that's my home country? You feel pretty American is my impression, but like is that a thing that's in your mind sometimes, or do you feel Colombian, or is this really more of a side story in your life?
It's a mix. I was born here, and then when I turned 1, my mom went back to Colombia until I turned 7, and then I came back here and I haven't been there ever since.
So you've done all your schooling here?
Yeah, so I've done everything here. It's still part of me. Like I still speak Spanish at home. Yeah. I speak Spanish everywhere I go.
Right. Which in New York City you can do everywhere. So
yeah.
It helps in the bike races too, probably.
Yeah. It does help in the bike races. So yeah, it's still part of me, but I don't think I don't necessarily like the road racer guys don't have a big thing in my I don't really pay attention to those guys.
Right. Yeah. Right. If you look at the crit racers.
I remember like I think at a certain point like I knew that wasn't going to be the level I was going to reach.
Right.
And I set myself a goal to like reach the highest level in the U.S. and I was like looking up to those guys and stuff. Yeah. So like I would stay up and watch like 2017 Tulsa Dan Holloway win the bike race and I'd be like, fuck, Daniel Holloway
was the man, I think, was it 17 or 16? Yeah. He just cleaned up everything and he made it look, and he had like although the lead out guy, they were just one of those perfect team combinations. And yeah.
So like I saw that, and that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah,
like those are the guys that I thought.
There's still some really good videos on YouTube from that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So those are almost one of the idols. Holloway, anybody in the field right now where you like, yo, that's another level. Apart maybe from the obvious, like the winners, or do you feel like there's one guy that is not on your team where you're like, man, that's somebody to aspire to? Or
there's a couple of guys.
Yeah. You don't have to share. It's fine. Eric
Marcotte.
Yeah,
that dude.
Yeah.
Monster. I used to like listen to his podcast all the time.
Yeah.
Like go out for a ride and just play his podcast on radio.
And this is a guy who really de facto probably was never a pro, even though he had some pro contracts, but he was in Arizona when I was in Arizona when he was like a big thing, and won a road national championship, won crit national championships twice, I think, even, or at least once. And a guy who did this late in his life too, like in his late 30s, and he's now in his 40s, and he's still showing up to USA crits. He doesn't look like a typical bike racer. He looks like a bulldog, you know? Yeah.
I think that dude.
For the riding style, or for the work ethic, or why? What was it?
Mix of everything.
Yeah.
How he looks at everything. Like he's a complete athlete.
Yeah.
He's not just a guy that races, but he's like focuses on everything.
Yeah.
Brad Huff.
Yeah.
That dude, big influence.
Retired now, right?
Yeah, retired now, but
used to ride Valley and other teams before. Yeah.
That dude is legit. But yeah, those are the guys that like I would look up to.
You're like the big weightlifters on the bikes, and the muscle. These are the muscle guys.
Well,
I mean, you're a stockier guy too, right? The build.
Yeah.
So I think the build, and maybe that's just coincidence, but the build is a little similar.
No, those guys are like, if you listen to all their stories too, they're like, oh yeah, not all of them, but like Brad Huff, like he had an eating disorder at one point, and like he stopped caring about his weight and started like being really good at bikes, right?
Yeah.
You have Eric Marcotte, who's just like naturally an overall athlete and doesn't care about being the lightest person. He just cares about being strong and fast.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So those guys are like legit. So those are the guys I grew up watching. It's like, all right, this is cool.
You probably didn't have to start out with the eating disorder being a pro, but any other negative, or not being a pro maybe, or not doing road racing and hill climbing and all that, but any of the negatives? The traveling probably gets to you after a while, or is that still exciting?
The traveling is super exciting.
Yeah,
like that's the biggest thing. Like being able to say that you're gonna go race your bike in another state is like amazing. Just like getting on a plane to do it. There was definitely times where I did fight with my weight just because I thought you had to be lighter and whatnot.
Right.
I don't think I ever got to like the point like a straight up eating disorder, but there was times where you got
pretty obsessed with it. Yeah.
Where I'm gonna go on a 4-hour ride and not eat anything, right? Like that's pretty.
That's a warning sign.
That's like rough. Like I'm not gonna eat anything on a 4-hour ride, and I'm gonna come home and maybe not eat some more. But there's definitely been moments like that.
Did that work out for
you? Yeah. I think when I started actually learning how to be an athlete and like what I had to do to be good at a bike and crit racing, I learned that like I don't need to be 140 pounds. Like, that's just dumb. Like, I'm not gonna go up any climb in the crit. Right. Like,
not usually. Nothing's too significant.
And then when you also start noticing that you get sick a lot more, then you're like, this is dumb. Like, I don't need to do this shit. I think, the traveling, I enjoy it the most, man. I think, like, that's the best part. That's the best part.
Yeah, I mean, I think versus being on a local team here that isn't really taking you a lot of places that otherwise you really have to struggle to get to, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty awesome. So, track, next kind of goals. You doing cross this season? You haven't done. You've kind of gotten quiet on that.
Yeah.
Okay. I think you've done some mountain biking. I see you on the trails at Cunningham Park, so that's why I'm asking a little bit about. You've kind of explored everything. Which is one of the things I appreciate really too. That you're not stuck with whatever. You're branching out, and I had the same conversation a little bit with Jacob, who you're coaching right now, and he's kind of a similar mindset. He's learning a lot and doing different things. From riding mountain bike and riding cross and riding road, and I think it makes him a complete rider. But no cross for now, no mountain bike. Racing plans at least.
I think I tried all that stuff out so I could get out and learn and like see what was like fitting for me. crew racing ended up being what I was really good at and like what I
You'd be pretty
enjoyed.
good at the cross too. That
I
translates
did
fairly
cross.
well, right?
I got up to. I was racing the UCI stuff.
Yeah.
I wasn't finishing it.
Yeah.
I didn't. I'm not into.
There's a lot of people like
yeah,
that, though.
Yeah. I wasn't into how much equipment you needed for cross, right?
Like a lot of extra stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot of extra stuff. And then after doing like a whole traveling season of crits that I have to travel for cross,
Yeah.
like that gets pretty taxing.
Yeah.
So I was pretty over that. And yeah, so I won't be doing cross. I got into dirt jumping over COVID.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not sure if that's just like the fun part or if that's like you're kind of serious about that part
No,
of it.
I got
as a
into-
challenge.
I got into dirt jumping over COVID. There was nothing to do.
Yeah.
No bike racing.
Yeah.
I had played around with the BMX bike when I was younger, but I never got good at it. But I knew a thing or two of like how to ride a BMX bike or how to do things. So Jacob and I got dirt jumpers, and the Cunningham jumps have always been there, but they've always either been like not maintained or pretty exclusive. And like during COVID, that place blew up. Everybody was super welcoming. You show up, you dig, and then you ride all day with your friends.
Yeah.
And like that felt like that made me feel like a little kid again, because there wasn't like no structure.
Yeah.
None of that. You just showed up and you just rode dirt jumps all day. You go to the deli, you get yourself shitty lunch, and then you come back and ride dirt jumps all day. It's like the closest thing to feeling like
Thank you.
the closest thing to
No, I'm good. Yeah.
it was like the closest thing to feeling like skateboarding again, or like a little
Thank
kid
you.
again.
Yeah.
So I took that on for a while. But then when the contract came in again,
Yeah.
I was like, all right, no more distractions. I can't
Yeah.
put myself in danger anymore.
So, on that note, then maybe if you don't mind, like, you do sign a contract with the team. For those who like always want to know a little bit more about how that works, you sign some sort of agreement.
Yeah.
We don't have to disclose all the details in it, but there's your name on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And there's a written agreement.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it is, I think, a step above like the amateur teams, you know, that other people are on, like including me, where it's like a handshake or whatever. You know, where, like you're on the team, and then the next day you could not be if you didn't want to. So it is a step up. But you would probably not mind calling yourself an amateur in terms of like you have other things going on in life, right? You work for a bike shop primarily?
I do.
What do you do? Tell us a little bit more about how you finance, or again,
I think
obviously ButcherBox helps you, but yeah.
I think it's like I like to say I treat this like my job.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's the difficulty,
before,
right? Yeah. So that's it, and that's the next question. Kind of is like, so how do you balance that, and what do you do other than cycling, and how many hours are you putting into cycling?
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're putting in more than 10, right? Which is like what kind of my goal, right?
Yeah.
Because like if I do 10, I'm happy, like you know, and I know that a guy like Connor, right? We're gonna do Former Pro probably still trains the same way though, like he did before. He's gonna be 20. Not every week, but 20 plus a lot of weeks, probably.
Yeah.
And this is for somebody who trains for crits, right? Not even for road racing.
Yeah. Well, this year I decided to take it pretty serious,
Okay.
and like I consider it like a part-time job.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Where I have 2 part-time jobs.
Right, yeah. No, that's what I mean. Okay, and I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of guys in that
So,
situation, right?
yeah.
Like where they're like, you do enough other stuff that you're good,
Yeah.
and then you can also focus on the cycling enough that you feel like it's your other job or your job,
Yeah.
right?
No. So like this is like my job, and then I have my part-time job at a bike shop where like I help. I kind of manage it. I'm there 3 days.
Give them a shout out.
Yeah. Bike Lane in Queens.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's a friend of mine that actually was the first guy I worked at a bike shop with. He decided to open up his own shop a couple years ago.
Is it Kew Gardens or where is it?
This is in Jamaica with him.
Jamaica, okay.
Yeah. He opened up a shop a couple years ago. He's been building it up. He moved to a bigger location in August of last year. And he's always like, hey, come work for me.
Yeah.
And I've always like hesitated. And finally he moved to a bigger space. We came to an agreement where it's like, hey, this is my job, but then this is also my job. So, you know, he works out really well, and we like balance off that, and we work off each other, and I'm able to still train full time and race full time, but then come back to this and survive.
Right, but if you have to like fly out on Tulum on Friday, then you don't have to work Friday.
Yeah, exactly.
That, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So I figured it out to where the point where it's like, I'm not struggling, but I'm still able to do both things and have fun.
So how many hours we're talking? Average or
on the
I'm
bike?
sure I could peek at your Strava or whatever. And,
I actually haven't been updating my Strava.
Yeah. So there's some
It's
people
been a lot of zeros lately.
Yeah.
At the moment, it's only been, I think, like 15 hours, maybe.
Which is still solid.
Yeah, 15, 10 hours.
Which again, and we could argue about whether or not you need more as a crit racer, right? And
Yeah.
Quality versus quantity, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
But yeah.
I'm a big quantity guy. I love volume.
Okay, you love the volume. Okay.
I love volume.
You think it works for you. And you love bike riding anyway, so like, why not, right? Like,
I love the volume. When we get to this point of the season, this midway point, it's like I really need the volume, but I hate the volume because I just want to race my bike.
Well, yeah.
So right now it's like less volume, a lot of harder stuff. So yeah, right now I'm only doing like 10, 15 hours.
Yeah.
And then in the winter time, 20, 25. Yeah, and then still going to the shop on.
So you're doing 5-6 rides a week? Or, and then depending, a couple of long rides or whatever.
Yeah.
A couple
So,
of structure intervals.
exactly. Yeah.
Like that, right?
Pretty much. Yeah. Just stuff that works for me to get me going and have me be good.
Are you self-coached then?
No, I'm coached by John Crumm.
Okay.
He actually just won 4 national titles at the track. That guy's a legend.
Not bad.
He's been on the national team for track.
Okay.
I picked him up, and I was like, I talked to him. We got along really well.
What was the connection? How do you get to know him? Or?
I met him at the track doing UCI stuff in 2019, and he was like on the national team, and I just like saw that he was doing cool stuff, and he was very like approachable. He wasn't like standoffish. He wasn't like, oh, I'm on the national team, don't talk to me, like kind of guy. Like he was actually like really nicest dude you ever meet, and he's like a track coach, and I mean he coaches other stuff too. But like you think about him and you're like, oh, I'm gonna hire him for track stuff.
Yeah.
I hired him with like, all right, like, yo, I want to do this like crit stuff really well. I was with another person and I was like, I want to go up another level.
Yeah.
And he ended up helping me get to that other level.
Yeah.
And I love working with that guy. And it's more of it's now, he's a coach, but he's now like a really good friend. Like I went and spent time with him in Colorado. I've been learning from him on the track so much stuff lately, even though that's like not the main focus. Like it's always been crits. So now like I want to like, turn his screw, ask him more questions about,
You feel like you still got something in your body there.
I want to, I want to be like, hey, how do we do good at the track stuff?
Yeah.
Right? Like the crit stuff is good. Like got that figured out. I want to learn more on the track, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see what we do there. I think if I was self-coach, I wouldn't ride that much.
Yeah, right.
I would do the bare minimum and like probably survive half the time.
And I think that's what you need, right? To some extent, the coach is there to give you some accountability and to not let you get away with it too often.
Well, and guide people the right way. Like if I wasn't coach, I'd probably drive myself to the ground or not do it. Right? There would be no in between, which might be the best thing ever. Right?
And that's the hard part.
I would probably like, all right, I'm gonna go do a 30-hour week back to back to back to back, and that's how I'm gonna get good. And like on week 4, I'm gonna be smoked.
Yeah.
Right? Versus like you have a coach and you're like, he's gonna be like, all right, dude, what's happening in your life?
Yeah.
Like what's actually wrong? Or like, hey, dude, you need to like strap up the boots and get to work, dude.
Yeah.
Like you're slacking. So we've come, and he's a friend now, so like it's easier to talk to him. It's easier to have him be like, all right, dude, like you don't suck right now. You're just in between a phase right now. Like,
right.
It's mid-season. Like everybody's struggling.
Yeah, I mean, July, lots of people have raced quite a good amount now, even in 2021, where we've had fewer races. So you're gonna race little. What does that look like for you? You're not racing Sunday then? You're just racing Saturday night?
It's only Saturday.
Right, there's nothing on Sunday.
There's nothing on Sunday. Race Littleton.
So what that looks like, you're flying back the next day or something like that?
Flying back
and
Sunday,
maybe a
yeah.
recovery ride, and then you're gonna go back to
The track.
The track. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back, do the last UCI weekend, and then after that is some heavy training for the end of the season
Yeah.
stuff.
So that definitely sounds like the domestic amateur pro amateur kind
Yeah.
of lifestyle. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just there's so many lines that you can just call yourself whatever you want now.
Yeah, you're right.
Like
Yeah, they have all kinds of titles and names. And
mine is
levels and-
part-time professional crit racer.
There you go, part-time professional crit racer.
Yeah.
Okay, that's your label for yourself.
Yeah, that's
okay,
my
I think I
label
saw
for
on
myself.
Instagram.
Yeah.
Part-time professional crit racer. I think that's
Yeah.
pretty fitting. Yeah.
I have another job, but then I also treat my bike racing like a job.
Yeah, I like that because the one I think you can call yourself like a full-time professional if you're on one of the pro continental world tour teams. Yeah, and then the in between is so hard, and they have that phrase elite gets thrown around all the time, and I really hate that phrase because it's meaningless. Like, what is an elite rider? Like, elite rider is like they have the domestic elite teams or something like that, but which I think you just have to apply for and give your society some money, and then and then you're like a domestic elite team. But it's pretty meaningless. But I think that's a pretty good self-description that tells people like you're pretty serious about it, and you're taking it seriously. You're taking it as a job. That makes a lot of sense. So.
Yeah, there's times where you get on the bike and it feels like you're clocking in.
Yeah,
right.
Right.
And then there's times where it's
so
fun.
that's part of it too.
Yeah.
It's not just all fun all the time.
Yeah. Sure.
You coach a little bit yourself now?
Yeah.
I don't know if you need to advertise it. I want to advertise that. But let's talk about a little bit. You're taking a lot of knowledge in, but you pass a little bit on now too.
Yeah, I feel like in the last 5 or 6 years, I've learned so much.
Yeah.
Right. Like anybody can go on the internet and write themselves a plan or buy a plan. Right.
Especially these days, right?
Yeah. I think there's a moment though where it switches off and you're like, all right, I need to talk to somebody about what's happening or why I'm doing this and why it's happening and what I can do to do better. Like yeah, you can go do your 4x10s, twice a week and probably get a little fitter. And you're gonna get prescribed that by every other coach.
Yeah.
But like what happens when you don't get enough sleep, or what happens when like you're freaking out because you don't know how to prepare for a bike race.
Yeah.
What happens when the field is moving at 30 miles an hour and you're like, all right, I'm gonna decide to move up now. Like that's not the move. Just wait a little bit. Right? Like you learn all these things that you can, spread to everybody and show that like, it's worth having a coach. And like, I'm not going to say that like, I've studied a bunch to be that or like that I'm taking on that role right away. Right? Like, I feel like that's a little bit dishonest or like it's taken away from actual coaches.
Right.
But I'm like to the point where it's like, I've done my research and I've learned so much over the last 5 years that I can hand off some of that knowledge to my friends, right?
Yeah.
And make them better bike racers and, see what happens. Like,
right.
You're always going to need that friend that you're going to speak to because something's going wrong. It's not just about training, right?
Right.
So I think I offer that too. So that's what I do with Jacob. Jacob's taking on this new career, but he still wants to train, right?
Right.
And Jacob loves racing.
Yeah, he's been getting great results this year.
He's crushing it this year.
And he knows how to race, or he's getting better at it.
Yeah. But like the thing was like, Jacob was coming out with me and doing 4 or 5 hour rides, right? And like training like a pro half the time.
Better. Yeah.
Right?
They'll make you better. Because in the end, it's volume.
Yeah. Like Jacob had the time to do it. But then he also like, hey, like I'm struggling with this job. Like, what can I do? And it's like, he's freaking out to the point where it's like, hey, I can't race my bike ever again. I'm like, dude, relax.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay. Like, you can take 3 days off. Like, you're not gonna lose all your fitness. Right. So like, I wanna like, I'm trying to help people that want to be helped or like want to learn more than just like doing a 4x4.
Right. Because like you said, I think the training plans are there, but often what a lot of people need is more like somebody who guides them through that, mentor and reflect a little bit on it, and who can teach them that, well, this is the time to move up, or this is not, or what was a stupid move you made here, or not. And we all make mistakes in the bike races, right? And like I tell people do this and do that, and then I make a mistake in the race myself, but like But I think you can pass on some of the experience you have, and I think that's really valuable, right? And I think you said something about there's actual coaches, and you probably talk about people who really know kind of like the physiology and the exercise science behind it. But that number is actually fairly small, right? I mean, there's a lot of people who are coaches who teach you, who don't necessarily have like all the knowledge about the science of the training plans and the training physiology, like what's right, and they'll testing with you, but they teach you a lot of other things, right? Or who can teach you a lot of other things. So I think that's really cool.
So I'm trying to be the guy that's like, teaching the racecraft. Right? Like not have them just pedal off the front super hard, right? It's teaching them how to position, how to hold a wheel, how to, how to move up, how to ride a breakaway, how to sprint, like stuff like that. Like, like I said, everybody can get a cookie cutter plan, but it's like passing on that knowledge of like, oh, I've been at that course before. I know exactly what everybody's gonna do. Oh, we're going up Prospect Hill. They're gonna swing this way. They're gonna swing this way, and then you're gonna go down like. Just put yourself.
Don't tell anybody secrets.
I know. Yeah. But like, it's that experience that I can pass on and help others and show.
Totally.
Right? And like, Crumm does that with me. Like, he shows me all like the track stuff. Like, like I went from, we were at the track and I was like not swinging all the way up. Right, and using the banking to come back in. And I was just blowing myself apart. He's like, use the track. Use the track. Use the track. And it's like, I didn't know that before, and now like I know that. So it's like, it's this, a bank of knowledge that can be spread.
And I think we can all do a better job at that, whether or not we're doing it in a more efficient capacity. But I think that's what a lot of the newer riders can definitely benefit from. And again, a reflection on it. I think we can wrap it up. We've talked a bunch, and I would love to talk more about stuff and USA crits and all that. We've touched on some other things that we could have gone more into. We talked a little bit about inclusion, but it really seems like that wasn't really an issue for you, that you kind of really felt like, I mean, we talk about cycling as golf, and it's, it's expensive, but you made it happen, but because you wanted to make it happen, right? And you found a way to work your way up and really work for it, right? Work for the bike, work for everything you kind of earned, and I think that's really impressive. I don't know if you have anything else, any other thoughts, but I think you've already given us some other thoughts on that.
I mean, if anybody wants to reach out, like juniors, people my age even, that guy that's 22 that thinks he's too old.
Right.
Like, you can reach out, dude. I'll answer your texts or your messages.
We'll call Cesar mid-20s right now, so he's not too old yet. He's still a young guy. I mean, I think you definitely are in terms of the overall the average peloton age at Prospect Park is probably more in the 30s, so you're definitely on the younger end of the spectrum still. So good, but so reach out to him. He's on Instagram with your name. I think it's pretty easy to find. So looking at New York City, we've talked about the kind of the development issue. As somebody who does mountain bike, the track, what do you think are a couple of the things that could really be improved outside of that? Let's figure out how to get more people into the sport, maybe a little bit earlier, or help them earlier, and then help them in a more targeted way, and help them develop in a more targeted way. Anything else that kind of, man, this sucks about riding New York City, or this is awesome about riding New York City, or racing in New York City? Anything that comes to mind? Bike lanes are like a typical subject, but you don't have to talk about bike lanes, or the track is shitty and needs a resurface, or whatever. Okay. What are some of the things that you really are like, oh my god?
People sleep on that track.
I
go there and do all my workouts, dude. It's
a nice quiet spot,
dude.
Probably.
All my threshold and VO2 workouts. It's an outdoor trainer. It's an outdoor trainer. You show up at 9 to 10 in the morning, there's nobody there. You can literally just ride as hard as easy as you want.
You do intervals there.
And I do all my intervals there.
Okay.
I don't need to go to the park.
You're pretty close though.
That too. But like, that's a place that needs to get utilized more. I don't think it's utilized enough. I think people just brush it off. But like, that track has provided me a place to work out. 80% of the time. People need to stop sleeping on Long Island rides. They need to go out to Long Island. There's so much riding you can do out there. That's also like 80% of my rides. I don't cross the bridge that much. My girlfriend lives a couple of blocks from here, so I have been crossing the bridge. But I hate it, man. I hate riding up the city, crossing that bridge, and then riding over there. Like,
so you can get onto some good good, cleaner Long Island roads, like clean in terms of like less traffic, maybe less pollution and less like less density maybe in terms of population in like what, half an hour or something like that, or
40 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From where I'm at right now, Rego Park,
Yeah.
it's a 30-minute ride, and then you can get some nice back roads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't do it often enough, but I'm on the other end of town. But there are, I've heard from several people, Jacob and others, too, now that the riding's good.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's a good point about the Velodrome. You can go out there on your road bike too, right?
Yeah,
Just
I do it on my road bike.
It's
all
not
the
like
time.
anybody else is there during the day. Right?
Yeah, there's no like set program where people are there watching you.
Has it locked off or anything. So
no, you can open the gate, walk in, and do your workouts. I think people need to do that more.
And I think more utilization, maybe it gets more attention. And
I think
more
if people do that,
investment.
I think if people actually use the track and showed up and saw, all right, there's 10 bikers on here, this actually might, fix it. Yeah, I think that needs to happen. I think there needs to be a development team that doesn't necessarily stop at 23.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Something where like people can reach out. I think New York City needs an elite team.
Okay.
Like that goes to
now you're coming with like a big topic here at the end where I'm like, some people would argue. Okay, so let's talk about so all right, we got a little bit of time. Right? People have stopped listening at this point anyway. So we'll save this gem for the end here. Then.
Okay.
So because you're throwing some shade here now, probably indirectly. I'm exaggerating a little bit, right? So we have New York City. You're right. But first of all, I would probably say we don't have a pro presence, right? No. First of all, let's say we do in some ways, because there's a lot of those Dominican guys that I would almost consider like at the level, at the crit level at least. Ismail, like Stalin has been there, but he does mostly like local races now. But they go, Cesar Marte, they go out to those races and they can compete. They fantastically well.
They crush.
And, all right, so because
those are the 10 guys that we talk about.
Those are the 10 guys we can talk about. Hey, because I know that, and you know, and like, well, people should know, and I think they don't always have the support, and they don't have that. Now they have the Rockland cycling team, and they went to Dairylands and crushed it, and partially because the region wasn't there the first 4 days, and the nationals overlapping, but they won that. I mean, let's like people here are always like, oh yeah, the Dominicans, nobody knows them, and like, and then you get beaten by them here, and then they go to Dairylands and they beat everybody else. And you're like, okay, so they're legit, you know? So I mean, let's just say that they're not just fast here locally. They know how to race. They know how to race those races too, which is again is a different. It's one thing to show up here and win a race here and there, and then go there and you get 50th, or 20th, which is again a really good result. But then to win or get consistent podiums and top 10s is impressive, And I think they show that they can step it up. And then they have maybe some guest riding like a Clever Martinez or whatever, or guest riding for the whole season here. So we have some of that presence, but and we have good guys now who I'm just going to call them kind of the new kids on the block because they don't have a long history and heritage, and they kind of come out swinging, and they have a good social media presence too, and they have a couple of guys who are really at a really good level, I think. And they're doing the first USA crit season, and they're kind of getting their teeth kicked in a little bit. I think I can say that. I mean, they're not maybe getting results that they used to locally or have been getting here. So you could call them an elite team if you want to. We can argue about that. I think we have Foundation, which is kind of the other team that has that ambition, I think, and then we talk about ambition maybe first rather than like what the actual standing is, and then what are the actual, we don't have any of the Continental Pro blah blah teams for sure not. And we don't really have any rider presence from those teams either, as far as I'm aware. But Foundation that used to go a lot to USA crits and then shifted their focus a little bit to more locally again. But they have that cooperation with the CCB team, which is kind of.
I've never seen anybody from New York.
They don't come here, right? And they don't. So they don't seem to trade off so much. And again, 2020, and this is a new thing, but. You go to these races and very few people, other than Darren's Intelligentsia, where again, Rockland Cycling Velo and Ismail and Cesar and Clever, they've been showing up really doing well there. Few, if any, people go out there. And that's okay, I think. And again, Good Guys has had presence there this year. They're struggling to adjust, which I think is normal. Again, maybe this is the first year, and I think they need to experience what that's like. And maybe they see it differently, and maybe they've gotten I think they've gotten a couple of 20s at least, but I think you're right in saying that we don't have that, whatever you want to call it, like top, like role, ambition, team, even to at the level of at the level of butcher box, or at a level that has a presence at the nationally respected races. Let's put it that way. Yeah. Or has a strong presence where people are like, oh yeah, that team. Yeah, they're legit.
The thing that sucks is that there was that, right? There's been a couple of them.
Yeah.
Right? Foundation was one of them.
Yeah.
Right? Like
And that's why I'm saying, do we still count them? Is it because they've shifted their focus a little bit?
I don't know where maybe it's like there's some sort of gatekeeping where it's like, hey, we want to just do this much, and there's no ambitions to do more.
Yeah.
And like we're only going to help these people out, right? But there just needs to be a change in it where it's like, all right, we're going to have this team that's going to go to all these bike races and they're going to represent New York City or like represent New York well enough,
right?
And then be a feeder team to bigger teams or other teams.
Okay.
But then like also be like constantly looking for development, right? Like not just like a bunch of guys that can have a bunch of money and call themselves a team. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't think that's good, right? Like for a group of guys that like have the cash to spare and like be fresh out of the cat tour and be like, hey, we're gonna go do this, right? Like I think that's a little bit whack and like disrespectful to the community because it's not like picking up riders from all over, like all over New York City, right? Like straight up calling your like how can you not go into like a prospect field and be like, all right, this guy has been in New York for like 5 years, 6 years, right? He's done all these other big races. Let's get him a spot and take him out to these big races, right?
Right.
It's like it's not okay, or there needs to be somebody because there's money out here. Like there's
no question that the city has money. It's just a question
there's people, you know, sponsoring these teams. Like I hear about amateur teams getting free kit, like races paid and whatnot. Like
don't put so many thoughts into people's heads. I hear all kinds of different things too.
I hear all types of things.
It varies from like you pay everything. So this is to all the Cat 4s and 5s out there who think they need to sign a contract to be a Cat 3 team. You do not. No. You do not expect anything, and you should not expect anything. You should just have fun and be ambitious and ride with your friends. But of course, you get support from friends. That can really vary on the team. And I think I've heard those things in numbers too.
I've heard all these things, and it's like, you know, there's a good amount of guys that can be developed. Yeah. And like for example, Lupus now Jameson. Right. They're doing good things. Like I love
Romello.
Romello. Lucas, the young kid, he's from Connecticut, but he's still young. Like they're bringing him on, and they're doing good things.
The small team we haven't talked about that much soon. I need to get someone from there because they have this kind of small group of riders that's on there every year, and then they kind of cycle in people that they're trying to develop. Right?
And like
more
there's people that go on that team and they go on to something bigger. Right? And like that team is doing it right. Okay. But they still need more riders.
Yeah, they're a little smaller.
They're a little smaller, and like for example, they went out to Intelligentsia, and that's awesome because they're mostly based out of New York City, and they're trying to do bigger races.
Romello, Ross, and Dom, 3 guys, or maybe a couple more.
Yeah, and it's good, and they probably have the support to do it. But I feel like there could be more, or like there could be something bigger. Right. Like there could be something bigger, and I think it's just, I think the community needs to come together for that. Right? I think it needs
to. What do you like about their model? You like the fact that they're kind of picking up some of the local regional teams and trying to develop them more, so you feel like they're doing that more so than a couple of the other teams?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So like, they're picking up, you know, guys from all over the region, and they're actually going to race, and they're giving other guys like Romello opportunities to go race their bike somewhere else outside of New York City. Yeah. Right. And they're young. Right, and some of them are not young, and they're still doing it, and they're getting to do it. Right, and it's and it actually looks like development. It doesn't just look like, you know, something on paper or on camera, right? Yeah, I think there's a lot of fake. There's a lot of fake showing of like what it is to do it, and then there's actually people doing it, right? Where they can be like, hey, we're actually gonna do it, and we're gonna do this and develop people, but I just don't think it's there. Foundation, I think they had a lot of funds, right? They ran USA Crits at one point where they were like 3rd overall.
They were certainly going to a lot of those races. And their model has always been, or has been for the last 10, 15 years,
having a
that
pretty
getting-
diverse, like
bringing
team.
in people from the Caribbean, bringing
Yes.
people from Central America,
Yes.
and developing them here kind of locally.
Yeah.
And then hopefully they get the next spot and they get maybe a pro contact or a contract at like the next step up kind of.
Yeah.
And I think they've done a pretty good job
They've
of that.
done a pretty good job, but there's
Overall,
still
right?
there's still
Yeah.
a lack of local development.
Yes. Okay.
Right? It's
Right.
awesome that they're bringing in all these people.
Right.
But there's still a lack of like
It's a
local
model, but
development.
it's not the local development.
Yeah.
They're making it local in the sense that they're giving kids from other places opportunity, which is great too, but
Yeah.
it's not the local development.
Yeah.
So you like a little bit of Jameson, but they're doing it too small of a scale. Is what you're saying, basically.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna put the names out there. Like, Good Guys has gone there. They've got some local guys, but you don't like that they've put in a couple of guys from other places around the country that they also have on their team, or what's the difference there? Is it too new to judge them as a development team?
You can't call them a development team.
Okay.
Right? Because I don't feel like anybody's getting developed.
Okay.
Right? I don't want to throw shade, but shade has to be thrown. Where it's like
I think I
feel
appreciate your willingness to speak out.
I feel
and,
like they're making it too much pay to play.
yeah, okay.
Right? Where it's like, hey, you have the money to do it. All right, go do it.
Yeah, I don't
Versus
know the
like-
details of the model, but yeah,
Yeah, I feel like
I
it's
see the
very.
point you're making.
I
Yeah.
feel like it's too much pay to play.
yeah,
Versus like, you have to go through it and then you get to that, right?
right,
Because
okay,
then that brings down a lot of people's work,
yeah,
right?
okay,
Where it's like, I didn't have the money to play,
yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
it's like, So I think I think
Because
that's
let's face it is expensive. It's a flight. It's we're not even talking about the registration
Yeah.
of the races, the hotel, like the fact that you have to miss work, and because you're gonna go out to what is it? USA Crits this year is probably a little different, but 10 races a year, something
Yeah.
like that, 10 weekends or
Yeah.
a week, and all these things that adds up to
a lot.
easily 5 figures, right? In terms of
A lot.
costs and that's again why it's not really sustainable on your own probably unless you get a decent amount of support, right?
Yeah.
And especially again depends on your background, depends on
Yeah.
what you're doing in life, and so that makes sense.
Yeah. I just think like if people are gonna do that much social media around it, there should be like more development,
Yeah.
right? On like a younger side and like more community outreach, or like figuring out a way to like get more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I feel you. They have a model too, and I would agree it's not a development model in that
Yeah.
sense. And I think you're probably right that Jameson in some ways I can see why you pointed to them at a smaller scale.
Yeah.
I think for now, Good Guys probably happy to be at that level.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to figure out what the next steps are, right? After 1 year of playing at that level and then see what can we do. Maybe they're gonna go there, maybe not. Maybe Foundation's gonna change the focus a little bit.
Yeah.
They brought in some certainly promising talent this year. But you're right that what's the next step after crushing the 50-year-olds at Central Park,
Yeah.
So it's like,
Well, how do we get,
and
like,
then
another-
again, no shade there too, because these are all good bikers as we're talking about. It's just a question of, I think you make a good point about if you're a team at this level, what is your role and what you should be doing if you're in New York City, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Like we're in New York City, like it's so diverse here.
Yeah.
Like how can we not have a bunch of 22-year-olds, 25-year-olds crushing USA Crit races? Like there's so many athletes out here, I bet. But I just don't see it happening. Like you have to be ambitious. You can't let like, not being able to get to the race get to you, like equipment get to you, like what I'm saying? Like I don't like to like say that I worked super hard to get it, but like I work at a bike shop and like I had to figure out I took a bus once from here to Virginia to get myself to a Cat 2 3 race to get my Cat 1 upgrade.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like
with your bike at the bottom.
Yeah, with my bike in the bottom of the Bolt bus.
Yeah.
Next
Some
to a
random dude
person.
sleeping next to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to do that in order to get my Cat 1
It's not
upgrade.
pretty, right? It's
Yeah.
like we're talking about this glamorous
Yeah.
life. No.
Yeah, and like somebody does that and they'll be like, why the hell am I doing bike racing?
Right.
Right? And you can eliminate that by having a legit development team that's actually gonna scoop riders up. Like not everybody has a mom and dad that's gonna put them on a junior team at a super young age.
Right, and I think that's what's largely happening now. And again, then the next step out of juniors is maybe the tricky one. And again, people with job in college should priority, but I think that if there was a venue, then maybe more people would go that way. Word. I think we're going to end it here. I'm going to talk a little bit more shade after. and then we have a good time. Cesar, it was a pleasure.
Thanks
Good
for
luck at
having
Little,
me.
and we'll be looking out for your results and critically evaluating them by the rooting for you. All right, dude.
Thank you.
See you.